Welcome back to Psychology with Dipali, the best destination for great content in psychology.
Hello, everyone. Today we will be talking about various types of cognitive therapies. So, the topics to be covered today are the meaning of the term cognitive therapy, the ABCDE analysis and core irrational beliefs in RET or REBT, the core schemas, dysfunctional cognitive structures, cognitive distortions, and cognitive restructuring in cognitive therapy, cognitive behavior therapy, which includes the principles, techniques, and applications, as well as the differences between REBT and CBT. So let's start. We will first know what cognitive therapies all are about. Basically, they are psychotherapies that help individuals manage mental health conditions. How do they manage it? By identifying and changing the irrational thoughts and beliefs, as well as unhelpful or inaccurate thought patterns and behaviors. So, the root of all emotional distress, according to any type of cognitive therapy, is the inaccurate or the wrong thought pattern or the thinking pattern, as well as the irrational beliefs, which is at the core of the emotional disturbance. So let us talk about the first kind of cognitive therapy, which is rational emotive therapy or rational emotive behavior therapy. And the founder of RET or REBT was Albert Ellis. Now, he focused on irrational beliefs in his particular model of therapy, where he talked about A, which is the antecedent events, which are the triggering events, which are the triggers for the kind of consequences that we see in the individual. But before the consequences are evident, what is happening is that the person has irrational beliefs which are mediating between the antecedent event and the consequence. And the consequence, obviously, is the emotional distress or the psychological distress which is caused in the individual, and it is the ultimate outcome of the irrational beliefs. So he talked about undergoing an ABC analysis under the guidance of a therapist, where A talks about the activating event or the adversity, which is, of course, the antecedent event. So, an activating event or adversity is something which is triggering us to form an irrational belief. So it could be, let us say, a person who has applied for a job, but he has been turned down. His application has been denied, and he doesn't get the position which he applied for. So this is the triggering event of the activating event, and it is a negative event according to this person. Then comes the B, which is the irrational belief. Now, this is a belief which is formed in response to the activating event. So this is a belief that we use basically to cope with the event or to manage the impact of the event. So the person may start having belief systems like, I'm a loser, I'm useless, and I wouldn't be able to do the job anyway, even if I had got it. So these are the belief systems which are now going to cause the emotional distress in the person. So C is the emotional as well as behavioral consequences. So all the irrational beliefs that the person is now thinking about will always have some consequences. Sometimes it is emotional consequences, sometimes it is behavioral consequences, and sometimes it is both. So in this case, the consequences may be that the person loses his self-confidence. He may think that I never will be able to apply for any future jobs, and I may never get a job even if I apply. As well as he might have impact on his behavior, where he may start withdrawing from others. He will feel sad, that is the emotional consequence, and he may also stop applying to any further jobs. So an example of the ABC analysis would be, let us take the example of a person who has lost an important match in sports. And that is the activating event or the adversity, which leads to beliefs like, I absolutely must win every match. This is his belief system pre-existing even before he played the match. Now, because he has lost the match and his belief system says that I have to absolutely win every match, now the consequence therefore will be he will have thoughts like, I'm useless. He will have emotions of depression or anxiety, and he will have behavior symptoms like withdrawing from others because he feels he's a failure. He has not done well by losing this match. Now, what happens in the process of RET is the therapist is going to engage the client with two various processes, which is disputation and effects. Now, what is disputation and what are effects? Now, first, the recognition has to be done of what are the irrational beliefs which the person is having. So the client is made aware by the therapist that these are the various irrational beliefs that are actually causing the problem rather than something else. So to counteract these beliefs or to counteract these irrational beliefs, the therapist will start challenging the irrational beliefs along with certain arguments, which could be emotional arguments, which could be logical arguments also. So, under the therapist guidance, there will be support given to the client to start countering this belief. And there will be counter arguments which are developed to refute this irrational belief. So, under the guidance of the therapist, the client will start refuting his own beliefs, which were irrational, and then he is going to experience new and positive effects of this disputation, which is the E, which means he's going to experience positive outcomes because now his thinking has shifted from irrational to rational thinking patterns. So he might, for example, have a rational belief or a thought process where he may feel that I just wasn't maybe good enough for that particular job, but I'll find another one. Or maybe the hiring manager who was hiring me, the HR personnel, maybe didn't like me, or I was not possibly maybe the right person for the job, but that is their loss, and I can definitely get another job. So through disputation, the positive effect which will be seen in the person is that he will go from an irrational belief system to a rational belief system. So the overall approach basically involves A, B, C, D, E analysis. A is the activating event to adversity. B is the belief system about the activating event. And of course, C are the emotional as well as behavioral consequences, due to which the therapist will engage in disputation, which will challenge the irrational beliefs, which will lead to new beliefs or new positive effects, which will replace the irrational belief system with a rational belief system. So there are four core irrational beliefs, according to Albert Ellis, which most people have. First one is demands. The person always feels that he should always demand success or respect or fair treatment, and this can lead to unrealistic kind of expectations and obviously disappointment because everybody is not going to match up to this particular belief system of this individual. So he may have a core irrational belief, as in I must be treated fairly by everyone. Now in the world that we live in, everybody may not experience a fair treatment from others. So when the person experiences this, it is contrary to his expectation, and that leads to emotional distress. The second type of core irrational belief is awfulizing, which means considering any kind of negative event or any kind of adverse event as awful or terrible and so awful that the negative consequences or the negative emotions and beliefs are amplified, multiplied many times. So not only is the person feeling that something negative has happened, the quantum of negative impact that he is feeling is much more than what the event actually is. So he may have this kind of expectation that it is awful when I am disrespected. So which means I was disrespected, and though, or maybe this person did not respect me, but maybe others will. But this person cannot tolerate it. He will feel that it is definitely very terrible, very awful that this has happened to me and it should not have happened. Third is low frustration tolerance. In this, the person cannot stand or tolerate any kind of adversity, which can hinder any kind of resilience and growth. So, any kind of negative event happening to this person, the tolerance level of this person is very, very low. So, the person may have expectations like, I cannot stand being treated unfairly. I cannot tolerate it. So even for a minute or even any particular instant, nobody should be treating me unfairly. And if that happens, I will not be able to tolerate it. So the fourth one is depreciation. In depreciation, the person views one event as a reflection of one's entire self. This can damage the self-esteem of the person. So the person may feel, when I fail at one task, it shows that I'm a complete failure, which means not only have I failed in this particular task, I am totally a failure at everything that I am doing and shall do in the future. So we are taking one event and then we are using that to think negatively about ourselves. So these are the four core irrational beliefs that most people have because that is the reason for their emotional distress. He also talked about three basic musts or irrational beliefs which people internalize, which means it becomes almost a part and parcel of their thought patterns. And this also definitely has a damaging impact on how they perceive things. So the first is immediate gratification. So this attitude or this kind of thinking pattern reflects the statement, I must get what I want instantly, which means I must get what I want when I want it, and I must not get what I don't want. If I don't get what I want, it is terrible and I can't stand it. So, this is immediate gratification, which is required by the person. And if this doesn't happen, or if anything opposite to that happens, the person feels he cannot tolerate it. Unrealistic expectations. Others must treat me as I want. So other people must treat me considerately, fairly, kindly, and in exactly the way I want them to treat me. And if they don't, they are no good and they deserve to be condemned and punished. So, which means if somebody is treating me unfairly, something is wrong with them, not with me. Approval seeking must win approval for self worth, which means I do not value myself till somebody else validates me. So I must do well and win the appreciation or approval of others for my performances, or else I'm no good. So if nobody appreciates me, I am no good as a person. So these three basic musts that we internalize also leads to emotional distress. So how does the therapist guide the person to rational thinking patterns? First, there is non directive questioning, which is used by the therapist, which means it is a gentle questioning procedure by the therapist, which explores the client's assumptions and his belief patterns, and it gets the therapist the knowledge about what kind of beliefs or which kind of irrational beliefs this person is having. Then the client is made to reflect on his belief systems and assumptions about life. So, all the musts that he is thinking about, or all the four core irrational beliefs that he must be having, they are basically made aware to the client. Now, the client then begins to change or shift his perspective on life and problems. Slowly, he is able to become aware that, okay, these are the irrational thinking patterns that I am having. And if I shift away from this, I can adopt something else, a different thinking pattern, which is going to definitely reduce the kind of trauma or the kind of emotional distress that I'm experiencing. So the client will gradually adopt a more rational belief system, which is replacing the irrational belief system. And this definitely leads to a reduction in the distress, which is experienced by the person, the reason for which he or she has come to therapy in the first place. So, when there is a reduction of distress felt by the person, we can say that RET or REBT has been successful. Now we come to cognitive therapy, where this was a process of therapy which was given originally by Aaron Beck. Now, he talked about the concept of core schemas. Core schemas are the systems which include beliefs and action patterns in the individual, which means there are certain basic core schemas or core thinking styles which we develop over a period of time. And these influence the way we believe things and the way we behave in various situations. Now, from where are these core schemas coming into our thinking patterns? These core schemas are the result of childhood experiences which are provided by the family. It could be, for example, let's say a negative experience, let's say like a neglect of a child in a family, or some kind of societal influence which might have a negative impact on the growing child. Now, once this schema is formed, let us say this child grows up and becomes an adult, there might be certain circumstances or situations that this person faces which will now activate or trigger these core schemas. So there may be certain critical incidents which may occur in this person's life, which may reactivate these core schemas which have already been formed in childhood. And this will lead to what Aaron Beck called negative automatic thoughts. So his term for a negative kind of belief system was negative automatic thoughts. And gradually, this leads to what he called dysfunctional cognitive structures, which means the person will keep on thinking about irrational thoughts persistently, again and again, repetitively. And he will also engage in what is called cognitive distortions, which means the way the person thinks is a distorted thinking pattern. So let us see an example. Let us say the person had an early experience of being shy, or he was bullied, he was laughed at for the way he was, maybe the way he looked, or maybe the way he behaved. Now, this leads to dysfunctional beliefs or the core schemas which are dysfunctional in this person. And he believes that other people are much better than me, they are smarter than me, they are cleverer than me, and I am really not good at all. Now, when this boy grows up, he may face a critical incident where, again, he may feel anxious in maybe a social situation where there is a potential that he may get embarrassed because other people might make fun of him or maybe might laugh at him. Now, this again will trigger automatic negative thoughts. That is, thoughts like it's going to happen again. I'll again make a fool of myself. Other people are going to again laugh at me. I will therefore then feel that I am of no good. This will now have an impact on various systems of his personality. For example, behaviorally, we will see symptoms like lowered activity levels. The person will stop interacting with others around him, or he may avoid others and he will withdraw socially. Motivational symptoms that we will see in this person is loss of interest. He is not interested in what is going on around him. Procrastination, he will postpone his work. So it will definitely have an impact on the work sphere. Everything which he needs to do on time he may not do, and therefore even doing some simple actions to complete his work will feel like a lot of effort for him. There will be mood related or emotional symptoms like sadness, there may be anxiety, there may be guilt, there may be shame, and of course cognitive symptoms where there is a poor concentration, he's not able to concentrate on his work, indecisiveness, he's not able to take good decisions, and in the extreme case it could also lead to suicidal thoughts. Physically, there will be sleep disruption. So there is poor sleep, there is tiredness in spite of sleeping for long hours, and of course, there's an impact on appetite. So the core schema, which was developed in childhood and re-triggered in adulthood, can lead to these kind of symptoms. So, what are the various cognitive distortions that cognitive therapy talks about? First one is all or nothing thinking. Now, all or nothing thinking is also called black and white thinking or dichotomous thinking or polarized thinking. Basically, it talks about viewing situations as either good or bad. That means in extremes. Either I'm a success or I'm a failure. Either this is good or this is bad. So when we are seeing things as either of the extremes, there is no middle ground. There's nothing in between. Either it is one end or the other end. And therefore, we use words like, always, never, or completely when we are engaging in all or nothing thinking. So, an example of this would be a person who dwells on his mistakes and then assumes that he will never be able to do well. Instead of acknowledging the error and trying to move past, he may think that, okay, I made a mistake, therefore I am a failure. I ate maybe more than what I planned to eat, so my diet has completely been blown up. So it's like they are taking a very extreme view of what has happened, and they don't feel that they are having any scope to change that. The next cognitive distortion is overgeneralization. Here, maybe a specific event occurs, whatever is the nature of the event, and based on that event, a general rule is created by this person, and maybe similar kind of events coincidentally might also happen. And again, the person will describe these events using the terminology like always or never. And when he is forming a rule, any future event which is going to happen, he is going to view it from the perspective of this one event which has taken place. So he will expect that even in the future, similar things will happen to me, and all the events which will happen to me will follow this particular pattern. And this belief in him is strengthened by what he feels is confirmation of his belief. So, for example, a person, when he is working, he might have made a suggestion in the work sphere to on a particular project, and though he has made a suggestion, that suggestion was not accepted. Now, when that suggestion was not accepted in the final version of the project, he may start thinking where he overgeneralizes and he assumes that no one at work ever listens to me or no one is going to take me seriously. My suggestions are never ever taken. So he's using one event and he's overgeneralizing and feeling that not only this event, even in the future, nobody is going to listen to me and nobody is going to value my suggestions. Then the next cognitive distortion is mental or negative filtering. Here, the person focuses on one single negative event which has occurred, and then he focuses entirely only on the negative aspects of the event, and all the positive aspects of the event or the situation are ignored or dismissed. So negative thoughts and feelings are strengthened. So there is an increase in the thinking of only the negative aspects of the situation, and the individuals may notice only their failures. For example, they may not even see that they are able to be successful in other things. The focus is shifting or filtering out everything positive and only focusing on the negative things. So a person may, let's say, focus on all the negative qualities or hurtful things that his or her partner has done, and just does not focus on or does not even take into account many of the positive features or positive qualities that his or her spouse may have. Then comes the next cognitive distortion, which is discounting or disqualifying the positive. Now, here what happens, the individual first recognizes that yes, a positive event has occurred, but he or she will explain away this event, which means good things have happened, but he or she will actively reject the positive aspects of the situation. So whatever has happened because of external factors. So maybe I did well, but it doesn't count because I had help for this. So the whatever good has not happened because of me. It has happened due to something external and it is not attributable to me. So a person may complete a project and may receive an award also for the outstanding work that he has done. Rather than feeling proud that yes, he has achieved something and he has really done good work, he may think that, oh, it was just luck, it was just by fluke that I did it well and I got an award for it. It has nothing to do with me. I don't have the talent and effort for really this kind of work, and it was just pure luck that I got the award this time. Next is catastrophizing or fortune telling. Now, here what happens is it is a kind of magnification where we give greater weightage to the worst possible outcome, which means even if the outcome is not very likely, we feel that yes, that only outcome will occur, or we will experience a situation as unbearable or impossible when it is just uncomfortable. So everything is being magnified, just like we use a magnifying glass to read words which are very small in font. This a small thing and especially a negative thing is magnified. So the person will predict the future also in negative terms and believe that what will happen will be so awful or so terrible that he will not be able to stand it. So therefore, it's like fortune telling that not only something terrible has happened to me now, in the future also such terrible things only will keep on happening. So it's like they are catastrophizing, they are thinking that all negative or catastrophic things will happen, and it's like fortune telling. It's as if they know what is going to happen in the future. So the situation is believed to be totally unbearable and intolerable. So they may have thoughts like I will fail and this will be unbearable, I'll be so upset that I won't be even able to concentrate for the exam. So they've already predicted their future even without this not necessarily being a very likely event to occur. Labeling is the next cognitive distortion. In labeling, basically it is a core cognitive distortion where we are defining individuals by the action. So one particular action of an individual may indicate something about them, but we feel that the entire individual is like that and we judge them and categorize them accordingly. So we are evaluating individuals based on certain limited interactions or maybe just one interaction we've had with them, but we are seeing their behavior as something which this entire person, this individual did, and not just a particular action which may not actually define them as individuals. So this can happen for self as well as for others. So when we apply negative labels to oneself, it is self-labeling. When we are using this labeling process on others, it is other labeling. So judging others based on only single behaviors and then continuing to judge them in all future interactions through that particular perceptive lens. That also makes them feel that no, this person will not change. There is no room for redemption. What I feel about this person is exactly like this, and in the future also, this person is going to continue to be like this. But I may have just one limited interaction with the person, but based on that, I have judged the person and labeled the person. So, an example of this kind of thinking would be I missed an appointment, I'm completely useless. So, here it is self labeling, or my friend hurt me once, he is totally untrustworthy. This is other label. Now, in cognitive therapy, therefore, cognitive restructuring is used to basically help reduce the distress of the person. So, first is reinforcement of dysfunctional structures, which is normally the reason for the problem. So, over a period of time, these dysfunctional cognitive structures, including the core schemas, which are negative, the negative automatic thoughts, and of course, the cognitive distortions, all of these get strengthened over time in a person. And if they increase, then it is also possible that it may lead to certain emotional issues or certain mental health issues like anxiety or depression. Therefore, what the therapist is going to do, the therapist will use gentle or non threatening kind of disputation to dispute or to challenge the thought processes of the person. So, the questions will make the client think in a direction which is opposite to that of his usual pattern of thinking. So if he is having negative automatic thoughts, the client will start thinking about thoughts in a different way, which is opposite to the negative automatic thoughts which he was having. And he will also gain an insight into which are the dysfunctional schemas which I'm having, which are the negative automatic thoughts which I'm having, which are the cognitive distortions in my thinking processes. And once this is the person is aware of this and has gained an insight about this, he is going to alter his cognitive structure and it will become a more functional cognitive structure. So this cognitive restructuring will therefore reduce anxiety or depression. And therefore, if you see cognitive therapy, it is not a very long duration therapy. It is a short duration therapy and it solves specific problems of the clients, and the duration would be around 10 to 20 sessions. Now we come to cognitive behavior therapy, which is again a very short, effective treatment for psychological disorders, and it adopts a biopsychosocial approach where it combines cognitive therapy along with behavior therapy. Now, the biological aspects of cognitive behavior therapy use basically certain kind of relaxation techniques where they are trying to reduce the distress of the person. So that's the biological focus. Then we have the psychological focus where certain behavior therapy techniques are used to reduce the psychological distress. And of course, the social aspects, which use the cognitive therapy principles to reduce social distress and emotional distress. So, research into the outcome and the effectiveness of CBT says that it is quite an effective therapy for various kinds of problems. It includes problems like anxiety, depression, panic disorders, or even borderline personality disorder. Now, what are the core principles of cognitive behavior therapy? Again, it's similar to cognitive therapy. It focuses on the cognitive distortions. For example, the negative thought patterns like catastrophizing or overgeneralizing, which are influencing the emotions and the actions of the individuals. Then there is a process of behavioral activation where the therapist will encourage healthy behaviors which will counteract these negative emotions and improve the well-being of the individual. There is also a process of self-monitoring which is taught to the client where he can track his thoughts, he can track his feelings and his behaviors to increase self-awareness. At the same time, there is problem-solving approach which is used where the client is going to learn and apply practical strategies to address the issues that he or she is facing. So, which are the key techniques or practical tools in CBT? One is, of course, cognitive restructuring, which is similar to what is used in cognitive therapy. Then we have mindfulness training, where the client is made to focus on staying in the present and reducing overthinking. Then we have exposure therapy. Basically, this is with reference to phobias or any kind of anxiety behavior, where the person is made to gradually confront his fears to reduce the anxiety. This can happen in two ways. You have in vivo or exposure therapy, where directly the person or the client is made to confront and interact with whatever he or she is scared of or anxious of in real life. So it could be situations or objects. But you also have in vitro exposure therapy, which is also called imaginal exposure therapy, where the person is vividly trying to imagine that he or she is interacting with the feared object or the situation in the mind's eye, which means he's not actually in contact with the feared situation, but he's imagining that he is, and that also leads to a reduction in distress. Then thought records, the person is taught how to write down his automatic thoughts, which are negative possibly, and to assess the accuracy, or to find out whether these negative automatic thoughts are really worth having. What are the applications of CBT in mental health? It has been seen to be effective for treating various mental health conditions and improving the emotional well being in people who have anxiety disorders, depression, managing stress as well as anger, and also managing post traumatic stress disorder. So, what are the differences between REBT and CBT? In terms of the core beliefs, which is there in both of these therapies, REBT targets the musts and the shoulds that people impose on themselves. It also handles the absolutist demands which people have, like I must be loved by everyone. In CBT, you will see that the focus is on cognitive distortions like mind reading, assuming that you know what others are thinking about me, or catastrophizing, blowing things out of proportion. Then, in terms of self acceptance, REBT emphasizes unconditional self acceptance, while in CBT, the effort is to build the self esteem through certain techniques which will bring positive reinforcement to the person and providing successful positive experience. Then we have secondary issues. Now, REBT addresses secondary disturbance. There is a concept called secondary disturbance. That is, if a person is, let's say, upset about failing a test, that is the primary disturbance. But then he starts telling himself, I'm so pathetic for being this upset. I failed an exam, I became upset, and I'm so upset about it. I'm pathetic that I'm so upset. So I should just get over this. So there is a second thought which is creating an additional or a secondary level of disturbance. Now, these secondary disturbances normally stop us from solving the original issue. So, this is what is focused on in REBT, but in CBT, this is not explicitly addressed. Then, in terms of techniques, you will see in REBT, there is a direct challenge of irrational beliefs. In CBT, there are practical tools which are used in a structured way to help the client reduce distress. In REBT, we have four types of disputation. You have logical disputation, which is the therapist may ask the client, does this belief make sense? Empirical disputation is where the therapist may ask, is there actual evidence for this belief of yours? Functional disputation is where the therapist may ask, is this belief helping you or hurting you? And then there is philosophical disputation, where the question is this belief aligned with a healthy, rational philosophy of life? In CBT, you don't have evidence of these kind of direct disputations. It is not directly emphasized in CBT. If you talk about practical tools, REBT is less structured with reference to practical tools. But if you see in CBT, we have practical tools like thought records, that is writing down the negative thoughts or the feelings, and what are the alternative ways of looking at things. Then we have behavioral experiments. Here, the client will be told you test out your beliefs in real life situations. So if you think, let's say, everybody will judge you, try doing something different and see what is the impact of that. And they are also given homework, that is practicing new skills and challenging thoughts, which will help them to find out are they able to use the techniques between the sessions when they are having a gap. In terms of emphasis, the focus in REBT is the rational philosophy of life and unconditional self acceptance, while in CBT, it is specific thought and behavior change. So what we have learned today is the meaning of the term cognitive therapy, ABCDE analysis and core irrational beliefs in REBT and RET, the core schemas, dysfunctional cognitive structures, cognitive distortions, and cognitive restructuring in cognitive therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy principles, techniques, and applications, and the differences between REBT and CBT. So do subscribe, like, and share my videos. Please follow me on Instagram also on the handle Psychology with Dipali. And do comment and tell me how you like my videos and is there any specific topic that you would like me to handle. So that's all from me now. See you next time soon.